The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. From the glowing blue gas clouds of Orin to the red deserts of Trinok, its influence spread like a silent web. Every known species had been catalogued, studied, and brought under the same banner of perfect order. For the Empire, everything had a place, and every being had a function. There was no chaos, no laughter, no confusion. Logic and efficiency were sacred. Every decision was measured, every voice controlled. The Empire's leaders believed that emotions were the cause of disorder, and so they had erased them from their culture long ago. When an exploration ship detected the strange blue planet at the edge of a quiet spiral arm, the Imperial Council was not excited. They were simply interested. Sector E591, said Commander Relkar, the ship's captain. Local star type G-class. Third planet, oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, surface life. His eyes, thin and pale like glass, moved across the holographic screen. The readings showed massive electromagnetic activity. Radio, television, and digital signals bouncing everywhere. This world is noisy, one officer said with disapproval. The commander nodded. Indeed. They waste enormous energy on meaningless transmissions. Begin observation. Prepare first contact protocol. The ship entered orbit above Earth, invisible to the human eye. Cameras zoomed in on cities glowing like circuits on the dark surface. The aliens saw vehicles, satellites, music, laughter, and advertisements. To the Empire, it looked like disorder. To them, humans seemed primitive and loud, a species still playing with emotions instead of mastering reason. Within days, an official message was transmitted across every human communication network. It began with a clear metallic voice that spoke in hundreds of languages at once. People of Earth, we are representatives of the Galactic Empire. Your planet has been discovered and will now join the unified order. Prepare for adjustment to Imperial standards. Cooperation will bring you harmony. The world froze. Governments gathered in emergency meetings. Scientists tried to analyze the signal. News channels filled with experts debating if it was a prank or invasion. For the first time, all of humanity shared one overwhelming thought. We are not alone. At first, there was fear. People imagined warships, lasers, and conquest, but then something unexpected happened. A small group of students at a university made a parody video of the alien message. They added cartoon sound effects, silly captions, and background music. They uploaded it online with the title, "Please hold, Earth is currently buffering." Within hours, the video went viral. Millions watched and laughed. The Galactic communication officers monitoring Earth's reactions were confused. They replayed the video multiple times trying to understand the purpose. Are they mocking us? One asked. Commander Relkar frowned. It appears to be a display of rebellion. Should we respond? No, continue observation. These creatures are irrational. But the laughter didn't stop. Every time the Empire sent another instructional message, humans turned it into a joke. A popular comedian pretended to be an alien officer giving ridiculous orders. Please remain still while we measure your emotional instability. Another artist painted a poster showing a group of aliens wearing headphones, listening to human songs with the title, Careful, it's contagious. The aliens didn't understand humor, but humans did, and humor became their shield. For weeks, the Empire sent polite but stern reminders. Comply with our communication standards. Earth kept replying with jokes, memes, and laughter. Governments tried to stay formal. The United Nations even arranged a meeting to discuss a unified message to the aliens. But the citizens had already chosen their own response. A global broadcast was organized by humans, not politicians, but artists and scientists working together. When the Empire's observation ship tuned in, they saw a young woman standing in front of the cameras, smiling warmly, her voice carried across the stars. To the Galactic Empire, thank you for your message. But we humans don't just follow rules blindly. We talk, we question, and sometimes we laugh. It's not disrespect. It's how we live. Her speech was calm, but every human watching felt proud. Back on the Empire's ship, silence filled the command deck. None of them understood. Laughing was not a concept in their language. Their translators marked it as emotional disturbance. Mild Commander Relkar decided to escalate. He sent an official report to the Imperial Council. describing Earth as mentally unstable and emotionally volatile. The report concluded that immediate correctional procedures are necessary to bring the species into alignment with logic, while the Empire prepared a plan to educate humanity. Earth celebrated the strangest first contact in history. News channels played alien recordings on repeat. Social media overflowed with alien memes. Someone even released a song called Galactic Greetings, Please Take a Seat. It became the #1 hit worldwide. For the first time in decades, people across different nations laughed together. Something beautiful was happening. Unity through humor. At the same time, deep in the Imperial capital, high above the planet Korthar Prime, the Emperor listened to the reports with growing concern. The Emperor was ancient and calm, a being who had ruled for centuries through perfect order. He sat on his crystalline throne surrounded by silent advisors. This planet is disorder itself, he said. Their communications are chaotic. They defy structure. Their laughter must be removed. His advisors bowed. Shall we deploy re-education? Not yet, said the Emperor. We will study them first. There is something strange about this reaction. They do not fear us. The Emperor's scientists were assigned to decode human behavior. They studied films, songs, and online discussions. They tried to find logic in humor, but there was none. A scientist named Trikan, young and curious, watched a human comedy show for analysis. He didn't understand the words completely, but something about the audience's laughter made him feel curious. Why are they making these sounds? He asked his computer. The machine replied, unknown emotional output, possibly sign of confusion. But Trikan didn't feel confused. He felt warm, almost light. It was the first time in his life he wanted to keep watching a transmission that had no purpose. On Earth, humans didn't know that their jokes were being studied in secret. They just kept sharing them. They began calling the aliens the serious ones. The name caught on quickly. Someone even made a cartoon series showing aliens trying to understand human jokes. It became a symbol of friendship, not mockery. People stopped being afraid of the Empire. Instead, they felt proud. The aliens might have technology and starships, but humans had something greater. The ability to laugh even in uncertainty. Months passed. The Empire sent new communication probes with calm warnings. Please refrain from transmitting emotional data. Earth replied with a single message. A live comedy broadcast. Millions of humans were laughing at the same time, all over the planet. The sound filled the alien receivers with endless waves of strange joy. Commander Relkar reported in frustration. Their defiance is spreading. Even some of our crew members have started making strange sounds when watching their transmissions. The Emperor frowned. This behavior must be stopped, but it was already too late. The humans had planted a seed. Laughter had entered the galaxy. On Earth, people didn't know how much they had changed the stars already. They were just being themselves, messy, emotional, funny, and free. As night fell across the planet, billions looked up at the sky, wondering if the aliens were still watching. They were. And for the first time in history, somewhere far beyond human sight, an alien scientist, Trikan, smiled. He didn't know why. He just did. The first smile in the Galactic Empire in 10,000 years, and it all began with a human joke. The Galactic Empire had faced many rebellions in its long history. Some planets had fought with weapons. Others had resisted through silence or escape. But never before had anyone fought back with laughter. To the Empire, this reaction made no sense. It was chaos, pure and strange. Yet it was spreading faster than any virus. When the Imperial Council held its emergency session, the chambers were filled with frustration. Commanders and ministers stood in rows projecting holograms of Earth's latest broadcasts. "Observe, Your Majesty," said Commander Relkar as he pointed to the floating images. "They are transmitting these things continuously. Moving pictures, loud sounds, random words. They even laugh at themselves." The Emperor's calm voice filled the chamber. "Why?" Relkar hesitated. "We do not know, my Emperor. Their humor has no structure. It is unpredictable. One cannot calculate what will make them laugh." Another advisor added, "We have tried to block their transmissions, but they use multiple frequencies, millions of them. Their civilians spread these signals freely. It is impossible to contain." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Impossible?" "No, nothing is impossible for the Empire. You will find a way to silence this noise. The commanders bowed, but even as they did, the holographic walls of the chamber flickered. And suddenly, a human message broke through. The screen displayed a cheerful talk show. A human host smiled widely and waved at the camera. "Hello, Galactic Empire. We know you're watching." The audience behind her laughed and clapped. The host continued, "We heard you don't like laughter. Don't worry, we'll send you extra, free of charge." The broadcast ended with a wink and a song that repeated only one line, "You can't stop a smile." The chamber fell into stunned silence. The Emperor turned off the hologram with a single motion. "End this nonsense," he said softly. But for the first time, his voice did not sound completely certain. Back on Earth, the world had changed. The old divisions between countries had faded as humanity faced something bigger than itself, a galaxy watching them. Governments stopped arguing about borders and instead focused on creativity. Musicians wrote songs inspired by the stars. Writers told stories about unity and hope. And everywhere, comedians stood at the center of this new age. They called it the Laughter Offensive. It started small, just artists creating funny responses to the Empire's serious tone. But soon engineers and programmers joined in, building software to beam humor into space. Scientists found ways to amplify human broadcasts, sending waves of laughter beyond the solar system. The idea spread across the internet. If they can hear us, let's show them who we are. Comedy clubs opened 24 hours a day, streaming their performances live into the cosmos. Teachers began lessons titled Jokes for Aliens 101. A company created the first interstellar comedy satellite named Smiley 1, painted bright yellow with a simple grin on its surface. It orbited Earth, broadcasting jokes, songs, and uplifting messages into deep space. And somewhere out there, aliens listened. On the Empire's observation ship above Earth, the young scientist Paragon was still studying human behavior. He had been assigned to understand laughter, though he secretly enjoyed it now. He sat in his quiet lab surrounded by glowing screens filled with human shows. Each time the humans laughed, he paused and tried to find the logic behind it. But instead of answers, he found something he could not measure: emotion. His assistant, a mechanical drone named I-7, floated beside him. "Report progress, Paragon," Paragon replied softly. "I cannot explain it yet. Their laughter is not a reaction to logic. It is a reaction to life." The drone beeped. "That is not a scientific definition." "I know," Paragon said, smiling again without realizing it. "But maybe some things don't need a definition." He turned back to his screen and watched a human clip of two people pretending to be aliens who couldn't understand human jokes. The audience laughed so hard that even Paragon chuckled quietly. When he caught himself laughing, he looked around, embarrassed. No one was there, except I-7, who asked, "Are you malfunctioning?" "No," said Paragon gently. "I think I'm happy." The word sounded strange in his mouth, but he liked how it felt. He began saving human videos secretly. He named the folder Joy Samples. Meanwhile, on Earth, the movement continued to grow. Human creativity exploded like never before. New kinds of art appeared. Glowing sculptures made from recycled satellites, songs that used radio waves as instruments, and digital murals painted across entire cities that said things like, "To the stars with love." People no longer feared the Empire. They teased it kindly with humor that said, "You can't control our hearts." A popular message appeared across social media. The Empire rules the stars, but humanity rules the smiles. This became humanity's motto. It appeared on posters, shirts, and spacecraft. Soon other alien civilizations under the Empire's control began noticing the change. Hidden transmissions reached Earth from distant planets. A voice from one of these worlds whispered through static, "We saw your broadcasts. We heard the laughter. It made our children laugh too." Humanity was amazed. Their jokes had reached across light years and inspired others. Scientists estimated that human humor was now being picked up in over 70 star systems. But the Empire tried to block them. They jammed frequencies and confiscated receivers, yet laughter found a way. It spread through whispers, recordings, and shared memories. The Empire called it the human contagion. On Korthar Prime, the imperial capital, a quiet revolution began. Workers in data centers started leaving small drawings of smiling faces on their walls. Pilots in starships began humming human songs when no one was listening. The Emperor didn't realize it yet. But his empire was changing, not through war but through joy. Back on Earth, a major event was planned, the first galactic comedy broadcast. It would be the largest live transmission in human history, designed to reach every corner of the galaxy. Governments, artists, and scientists worked together. Satellites were reprogrammed. Giant antennas were turned toward the stars. The event's theme was simple: laughter unites. When the day arrived, billions gathered in front of screens. The broadcast began with a single human standing under a bright spotlight, a comedian named Amira Solon, known for her calm humor. She smiled warmly and looked straight into the camera. "Hello, Galaxy. We know you're out there. Maybe you don't understand us yet, but that's okay. We just wanted to say, we're happy to meet you." The audience cheered softly, and she continued, "You see, we humans don't fight fear with anger. We fight it with joy. We laugh when things are scary. We laugh when we're tired. Because laughter reminds us that we're alive." She told light-hearted stories about everyday life, things that seemed simple but true: trying to make coffee at 3 a.m., getting stuck in traffic, accidentally waving at strangers. Her words painted a picture of humanity, flawed, hopeful, endlessly creative. The show lasted hours, and the laughter from Earth rolled across the galaxy like music. On the observation ship, Turkan watched in silence. His heart, a heart that had never known emotion, began to race. He turned to his commander, who had come to inspect him. "Listen to them," Turkan said. "They are not dangerous. They are alive in a way we are not." Commander Relkar stared coldly. "Their behavior is disruptive. It weakens discipline." "Maybe discipline isn't everything," Turkan said softly. "Maybe laughter makes them strong." Relkar said nothing. But later, when he returned to his quarters, he caught himself smiling at the memory of that human woman saying, "We just wanted to say hello." He didn't understand it, but something inside him had changed. By the end of the broadcast, Earth was glowing with pride. Messages poured in from space, some angry, some confused, but some grateful. In one quiet corner of the galaxy, a young alien child drew a smiling face on a wall and said to her mother, "Look, I'm making a human symbol." And far above Earth, the Emperor watched the recordings with silent eyes. "Strange creatures," he murmured. They turned defiance into joy. He stood up from his throne and looked out at the stars. "We will not let this laughter spread," he said. But in his reflection on the glass window, a tiny spark of a smile appeared. And for a brief second, even the Emperor didn't notice it. The Galactic Empire had survived for 10,000 years without change. It had crushed rebellions, ended wars, and controlled entire species. But now, for the first time, it faced something that made no sense: laughter. No matter how many signals they blocked, the sound of human joy kept returning. It traveled through space, bouncing from one communication channel to another, carried by every wave, every whisper of data. The Empire tried to treat it like an infection. But the problem was, they could not understand what they were trying to stop. Inside a great research complex on Korthar Prime, scientists and analysts gathered around glowing blue holograms of human videos. They wore long silver robes and emotionless expressions. One of them, Dr. Vekral, pointed at a paused image of a human comedian laughing mid-sentence. "Observe the facial muscles," he said. "They distort the face. The sound is sharp and uncontrolled. It serves no productive purpose." Another researcher nodded. "It seems to spread rapidly, perhaps through sound waves or visual imitation." A third added, "We should quarantine all recordings of this activity." But at the back of the room, one scientist stood quietly watching the same video and smiling. It was Turkan. He had been assigned to continue studying human behavior after his time on the observation ship. Now he spent his days surrounded by laughter he was supposed to suppress. Turkan raised a hand. "Maybe it has a purpose we do not yet understand." Dr. Vekral frowned. "Explain." Turkan hesitated. "When humans laugh, it seems to connect them. It reduces fear. It brings comfort. Perhaps it is a kind of energy, not for machines, but for hearts." The room went silent. The scientists exchanged uneasy looks. One of them said, "He speaks like a human." Dr. Vekral dismissed the idea. "Energy of the heart? Nonsense. The Empire is built on discipline and order, not emotions. You are letting their chaos infect your logic. Trickon bowed his head but said nothing more. Yet inside he knew something had changed in him forever. That night, when the research facility lights dimmed and the halls fell quiet, Trickon stayed behind. He turned on one of the stored human recordings, a small video clip of two people laughing uncontrollably after dropping a cup of coffee. At first, he didn't understand what was funny. Then, after watching it again, he found himself chuckling softly. It wasn't about the spilled coffee. It was about the joy of being imperfect. He whispered to himself, "They are not broken. They are beautiful." Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity continued its laughter offensive. News of the Galactic Empire's confusion had leaked back through intercepted transmissions. It made humans even more creative. Comedians began to tell stories about alien scientists trying to analyze jokes with microscopes. One popular skit showed aliens sitting in a lab, watching human TV and slowly learning to laugh. It ended with the message, "If they laugh once, they'll never stop." The show became so famous that alien smugglers began sneaking recordings of it into Empire territory. Secretly, on hundreds of planets, people watched humans laugh, and for the first time in generations, they smiled. In one quiet mining colony on the edge of the Empire, workers gathered in a hidden room to listen to Earth's transmissions. When the sound of laughter filled the air, they forgot their long shifts and strict supervisors. For a few minutes, they felt free. One miner said softly, "I didn't know sound could make me feel this light." Another replied, "Maybe freedom doesn't start with a sword. Maybe it starts with a smile." In the Emperor's Grand Palace, reports of this strange emotional disorder piled up. Entire sectors were reporting decreased obedience. Citizens were more cheerful, less fearful. The Emperor sat silently on his crystal throne as his advisors listed the effects. Factories slowing down because workers were chatting and laughing. Soldiers hesitating to enforce discipline. Citizens sharing drawings of smiling faces in secret. "It is spreading like fire," said one advisor. "We must act, Majesty. If we do not, the Empire will lose control." The Emperor's voice was calm but heavy. "Fire can be put out. Begin Operation Silence." Operation Silence was a massive project, a plan to erase all human signals from the galaxy. Thousands of jamming satellites were deployed and new laws forbade any contact with Earth. All communication networks were cleansed. Even speaking about laughter became forbidden. But something unexpected happened. When people were told not to laugh, they laughed more. Hidden underground on space stations and colonies, alien citizens held smile meetings. They shared jokes, copied human stories, and watched forbidden comedy clips in secret. What began as small groups became communities. What began as amusement became hope. The Empire's control started to weaken in small, invisible ways. Turkan was ordered to report to the Emperor himself. He was nervous as he entered the vast golden hall. The Emperor's gaze felt heavy, ancient, and cold. "You are the expert on these humans," said the Emperor. "Tell me, how can laughter be destroyed?" Turkan hesitated. His hands trembled slightly. "Majesty, I have studied them for months. You cannot destroy laughter." The Emperor raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" "Because laughter is not a thing, Your Majesty. It is a feeling. It exists in the mind. It cannot be taken away without taking away life itself." The Emperor leaned forward. "So you are saying it is part of their biology?" Turkan looked down. "No, Majesty. It is part of their spirit," the court gasped softly. No one had spoken of spirit in the Empire for centuries. The Emperor dismissed the crowd and spoke to Turkan alone. "You admire them, don't you?" Turkan nodded slowly. "Yes, Majesty. They are imperfect, but they embrace it. Their laughter makes them strong. It gives them courage when logic fails. And now it is giving courage to your people, too." For a long time, the Emperor said nothing. He turned away and looked out at the city beyond his palace. Lights glittered across the towers, and for the first time, he noticed how quiet it all seemed. "Go," he said finally. "Continue your research. I want to understand why their joy feels so powerful." Back on Earth, humanity sensed that the Empire was beginning to crack. Not in battle, but in spirit. Leaders, artists, and teachers worked together to send a new kind of message. Instead of jokes, they broadcasted stories about kindness, friendship, and imagination. A young child on Earth recorded a message and sent it to space. "Dear aliens, we hope you smile today. It's okay to be serious, but it's also okay to be happy. We just wanted you to know that. The message reached thousands of listeners across the Empire. People whispered it to one another like a secret blessing. Turkan became famous among his colleagues, though not officially. In quiet rooms, scientists who once rejected emotion now met to discuss human ideas. They spoke in whispers about joy, dreams, and laughter, words long forbidden. One day, a fellow researcher entered his lab nervously. "Turkan," she said, "they told us to delete the human archives." "All of them." Turkan looked at her. "Will you do it?" She hesitated. "I don't think I can. When I hear them laugh, I feel alive." Turkan smiled gently. "Then maybe we are becoming human too, together." They made copies of the archives and hid them deep inside the planetary data networks. Those files became known as the Library of Smiles. Months passed, and the Empire's confusion grew. The more they tried to erase laughter, the more it spread. The Emperor began receiving anonymous letters from across the galaxy, messages from citizens saying things like, "Thank you for ruling us, but please let us laugh. We are not rebelling. We are just happy." Happiness does not weaken loyalty. The Emperor read these words late at night. He remembered the first time he had heard human laughter through the transmission screens. He had been angry then, but now he wondered why it echoed in his mind long after the sound stopped. He whispered to himself, "Perhaps they are not our enemy." Back on Earth, the people celebrated the anniversary of the first contact. Cities glowed with lights shaped like smiling faces. At midnight, all communication networks united into one great broadcast. People across the planet spoke in one voice. "To the stars, and to our new friends, we send you laughter and love." The message reached far beyond Earth, past the Empire's jammers, past its silent borders, and in many places across the galaxy, laughter rose in return. The Empire's confusion had turned into something new, curiosity. And curiosity, once opened, could never be closed again. As the stars twinkled in the black sky, one thought crossed Turkan's mind. Maybe the humans were never trying to win. Maybe they were trying to remind us what it means to live. The Galactic Empire had always been a place of order. Every planet worked in perfect coordination. Every citizen obeyed without question. There were rules for everything, from how to walk in public to how to greet an official. But after humans entered the galaxy, everything began to change. The Empire tried hard to control the new wave of laughter and emotion spreading through its systems. But the more they tried, the more people resisted. Laughter had become a strange kind of light in a world that had always been dark and serious. At first, the Emperor did not believe it was a threat. "It is just noise," he said, sitting on his shining throne made of crystal and metal. "Humans are noisy creatures. Their nonsense will fade." But it did not fade. It grew louder. All across the galaxy, citizens were secretly watching human comedy shows, stand-up performances, and funny clips shared through the Empire's communication network. Even the strictest officers were not safe from the infection of joy. They would watch in secret, then laugh quietly so no one could hear them. The Emperor's advisors reported that entire workforces had become distracted. "Production levels are down by 30%, one of them said nervously. "People are laughing during work hours. Some even share jokes in the assembly halls." "Yo." Emperor's expression was calm, but his voice carried anger. "Find the source. Destroy it." And so, a new wave of imperial censorship began. On Earth, humans watched as their media was being blocked across the stars. Galactic streaming services suddenly showed black screens. Comedian networks were shut down. Their laughter offensive was being silenced. But humanity was never one to give up easily. In a meeting at the United Earth Cultural Center, a group of artists, scientists, and entertainers gathered. Among them was Lena Torres, one of Earth's most famous comedians. She looked around the table and said, "So the Empire doesn't want laughter? Then we'll give them something they can't block." Her plan was bold, maybe impossible. They would create a massive interstellar event, a broadcast that couldn't be stopped even if the Empire tried. A single stream sent from multiple human satellites using different frequencies, languages, and even light patterns. The event would be called the Galactic Laugh Stream. When the engineers heard the idea, they laughed too, not because it was funny, but because it was so human. Risky, daring, and full of heart. Within weeks, Earth's communication towers were working together. The laugh stream was ready. Meanwhile, in the Empire's grand city of Zenthara, the alien sociologist Trikan was becoming a quiet symbol of change. Once a loyal servant of the Empire, he had spent months studying humans and their laughter. Now he found himself doing something he never thought possible: smiling. When his colleagues noticed, they whispered behind his back. "Turkan has caught the human illness," they said. He laughs at nothing, but Turkan did not care. He had seen what laughter did. It healed sadness. It broke fear. It connected hearts that had never spoken before. He secretly shared Earth's recordings with others. One of his students, a young alien named Vela, said after watching a comedy show, "When I laugh, it feels like breathing for the first time." Turkan smiled gently. "That is what the humans taught me," he replied. On the day of the Galactic Laugh Stream, billions of humans gathered around their screens. The countdown began. The Empire's forces scrambled to shut down signals, but it was too late. The laugh stream went live. Across the galaxy, screens that had been filled with dull government news suddenly flickered, and then color, music, and laughter filled the air. The broadcast showed humans and aliens performing together. Jokes about everyday life, stories of strange cultural misunderstandings, and songs filled with joy. Even those who didn't fully understand human humor found themselves smiling. Lena Torres stood on the main stage, her image broadcast across light years. "Hello, Galaxy," she shouted with a grin. "You've all been too serious for too long. Let's fix that." The crowd on Earth cheered. People from hundreds of worlds joined the stream. Every few minutes, another alien comedian appeared, sharing jokes about the Empire's rules, in a way that was clever, not cruel. An alien actor said, "They told me I had to work 28 hours a day. So I asked, 'When do I dream?' And they said, 'Dreaming is not productive.'" The audience laughed, and for the first time, even Imperial citizens began to question, why was dreaming wrong? In the Emperor's command hall, the mood was grim. His advisors reported chaos. "Your Majesty," one said, "citizens on 20 planets have stopped working. They are celebrating." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Celebrating what?" "Laughter," the advisor said quietly. "They say it feels like freedom." For the first time in his long rule, the Emperor felt something he could not name. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something softer. He watched a clip of the laugh stream. Lena Torres laughing so hard she could barely speak. Around her were humans and aliens together, all smiling. He whispered, almost to himself, "Freedom, through laughter." He turned off the screen and said coldly, "Send the fleet. Silence Earth, once and for all." The Imperial fleet prepared for its journey. Hundreds of massive ships covered the sky above Zenthara. Their commanders believed this would be an easy task. Earth had no great weapons, no strong defenses. But when they arrived, they saw something they had never seen before. There were no armies waiting, no missiles, no shields, just light. The entire planet was glowing. Millions of people on every continent holding up bright lamps, screens, and holograms showing smiling faces. The sound of laughter echoed across the planet's communication waves, reaching the ships above. The fleet commander, Admiral Selkor, looked at the planet through his viewing window. "They are not fighting us," he said softly. "They are laughing." One of his officers frowned. "Should we begin the attack, sir?" Selkor hesitated. The laughter reminded him of something he had once seen as a child, a small creature on his home planet playing joyfully in the rain. He had forgotten that feeling long ago. He turned to his crew. "No, we will not fire. There is no honor in attacking joy." The crew stared in silence. Then one by one they lowered their weapons. The command to attack never came. News spread quickly. "The fleet refused to fire." Someone shouted in the Imperial Palace. On planet after planet, the same thing happened. Soldiers laid down their weapons, citizens filled the streets, and laughter became the sound of rebellion. But it was not a violent rebellion. It was peaceful, hopeful. People wore smiling masks, danced in public squares, and painted murals of Earth's comedians. Every act of laughter became a symbol of freedom. Even Trakan stood before a large crowd on Zenthera, speaking into a public broadcast for the first time. "My people," he said. "The Empire told us emotions are weakness. But they are not. They are what make life worth living. The humans showed us that laughter is not rebellion. It is rebirth." The crowd began to cheer, their laughter echoing through the metallic streets of the Empire's capital. In his palace, the Emperor watched from his throne. The sound of laughter reached even the highest towers. He felt something stir in his chest, a strange warmth he had not felt in centuries. He looked at the old paintings of past rulers on the walls. None of them had ever smiled. Not one. He whispered, "Perhaps they were wrong." For the first time, the Emperor allowed himself to smile. It was small and hesitant, but it changed everything. Across the galaxy, reports came in. Citizens are laughing with the Emperor's image. The fleet has returned peacefully. The Empire's banners are being replaced, not torn down, replaced with symbols of joy. The Galactic Empire was changing. Not through war, not through power, through laughter. Earth watched all this unfold with pride. The humans had not just survived, they had transformed an entire civilization. Lena Torres stood on a hill overlooking the bright cities of Earth and said to the cameras, "They thought laughter was a weakness, but laughter was our strength all along." And somewhere in the stars, Trakan looked up at the sky and whispered, "The humans didn't conquer us, they cured us." The galaxy had never seen a day like this. For centuries, the stars had been quiet under the rule of the Galactic Empire. Planets followed orders, citizens obeyed instructions. Life was efficient, but it was colorless. Happiness existed only in small, private moments hidden from the eyes of others. But that was about to change. Earth had sent its largest broadcast yet, the Galactic Laugh Stream finale. It was no longer just a human show. It was a festival of joy, art, music, and stories designed for the entire galaxy. Every planet could tune in, and billions did. The broadcast began with the Earth skyline. Children waved at the cameras, adults danced, and animals played under sunlight. Every continent contributed. Colorful lights, holograms, and music filled the air. Lena Torres, the lead comedian, appeared on the main stage. She smiled widely, her voice echoing across the galaxy. "Today we share laughter, friendship, and hope with all of you. No one owns joy. It belongs to everyone," the audience cheered. But this was more than a broadcast, and it was a message. Humanity had shown that joy could be more powerful than any weapon, more enduring than fear, and more uniting than any law. In the imperial capital, the Emperor sat silently. He had ruled for centuries without challenge, yet he could feel something stirring in his chest, a warmth he could not name. Reports arrived from every sector. Citizens were dancing in streets previously reserved for strict ceremonies. Soldiers had set down weapons and were joining the festivities. Entire fleets of ships were orbiting planets, broadcasting laughter in place of orders. The Emperor watched Lena Torres speak. Her words were simple, yet they carried a force no army ever could. "If you are serious, that is fine. But don't forget to smile. Today, the galaxy smiles together." The Emperor felt his lips twitch. Slowly, a small smile appeared, the first in 10,000 years. Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. On planets that had been silent for centuries, laughter rang out like music. In the factories of Korthar Prime, workers sang while assembling machines. In the mining colonies of distant planets, miners clapped and cheered as they worked together. Even the strictest officers in the Empire began sharing jokes with one another. They whispered stories about humans passed along secret videos and taught each other how to laugh without fear. The more they laughed, the more they felt alive. Trakan stood in a crowded square on Zenthara, watching humans and aliens together on the screens. He raised his voice above the cheering crowd. This is not rebellion. This is life. Laughter is our bridge. It connects us all. The crowd erupted in agreement, waving banners and holding signs covered in smiling faces. Back on Earth, Lena Torres led the final segment of the broadcast. She asked children from every continent to speak. A child in Africa said, "We hope everyone smiles today." A child in Asia said, "Laughter is stronger than sadness." A child in Europe said, "The galaxy is a better place when we laugh together." The messages traveled at the speed of light, reaching billions of citizens in the Empire. The power of simple words combined with joy and innocence was overwhelming. Even Admiral Selkor, the commander who had once planned to attack Earth, paused in his command room. He realized that no order, no fleet, no punishment could stop this feeling. He stood quietly as the laughter filled his ships. Slowly he smiled. He had not smiled in decades, but now, in that moment, he felt hope. The Emperor, too, began to understand. He had always believed that emotions weakened people, but watching the galaxy's response to human joy, he realized the opposite. Laughter made people stronger. It brought communities together. It reminded citizens why they lived and dreamed. He stood from his throne and walked to the balcony overlooking the Imperial City. Everywhere he looked, aliens were joining humans in celebration. Streets once silent were alive with music, art, and color. He whispered, "Perhaps they were never my enemies. Perhaps they were teachers." At that moment, a child ran up to the balcony and handed the Emperor a small card. On it was a simple drawing, a smiling face. The Emperor stared at it for a long time. Then quietly he laughed. It was soft at first. Then it grew. His laughter echoed through the palace halls and out across the city. In the far reaches of the Empire, on planets where citizens had never dared to smile, people stopped what they were doing. They listened to the broadcasts. They saw the messages from Earth. And then, one by one, they began to laugh. A worker in a mining colony said to her neighbor, "It feels good to laugh." The neighbor nodded. "I haven't laughed like this in my life." In the Imperial fleet's officers turned off monitors showing tactical orders. Instead, they played Earth shows for their crews. Starships filled with the sound of laughter instead of alarms. It was contagious. The galaxy had never experienced something like it, a peaceful revolution powered by joy. On Earth, the final scene of the broadcast unfolded. Lena Torres invited aliens who had secretly been learning human humor to join her. They appeared on screens, smiling, laughing, and sharing jokes in their own languages. Turkan appeared among them, waving at the camera. He said, "The humans taught me to laugh. And now I teach you. Laugh and you will feel alive." The galaxy erupted in cheers. Citizens from hundreds of planets repeated human jokes, told their own stories, and shared songs. For the first time in history, aliens and humans celebrated together in unity. Even the Emperor's advisors laughed. The once strict halls of government were filled with color, movement, and joy. The final moment came when Lena Torres said, "And now, we invite everyone, all species, all planets, to laugh together. Because laughter is stronger than fear. It is brighter than darkness, and it belongs to everyone." At that exact moment, across the galaxy, countless voices joined in. Billions of beings, humans, aliens, and even creatures no one had ever seen before, laughed together. It was a sound without borders, without rules. It was pure, free, and unstoppable. The Emperor smiled fully now, feeling warmth in a way he had never imagined possible. He whispered, "Perhaps this is the way the galaxy should be." The day ended not with a battle, but with music, laughter, and celebration. Flags were redesigned to show smiling faces. Murals appeared on every city, and statues of humans and aliens holding hands were erected. Earth became the heart of a new galactic culture, not through force, but through the simplest of human gifts. Joy Turkan, once a loyal servant of the Empire, now stood as a teacher of laughter. He traveled from planet to planet, spreading the lessons he had learned from humans. The Empire itself changed. Laws became less rigid. Citizens were encouraged to express joy. Schools taught comedy and storytelling alongside logic and science. And the Emperor? He laughed freely now, knowing the galaxy had become a better place. On Earth, Lena Torres looked up at the night sky. Stars shone brighter than ever, reflecting the happiness that now filled the universe. She whispered, "We didn't fight with weapons. We fought with laughter, and the galaxy won with us." Somewhere far away, an alien child painted a smiley face in the dust. On a distant planet, miners danced to human songs. On starships, officers shared jokes in secret, feeling alive for the first time. Laughter had united the galaxy, and in every corner, every star system, every being, a single truth became clear. Humans take on the impossible. And sometimes, the most powerful force of all is simply to laugh.